Hey, excuse me 1 second. Well, that was chaotic. Apologize for that. Rough start. Check, check, check. 1, 2. How's that? Just a little tall. Come a little bit closer. Yeah, that should be good for now. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you for tuning in and welcome. Let's continue on our journey of hip opening. Today, I think a good idea will be to have 2 blocks if you've got them, but we definitely need 1 at the least for our hip openers today. So as I mentioned in the email I sent to you, we're gonna be working on a posture called the archer. And simply put, the archer is, ideally you would be having one hand on a toe lock here and the other hand is pulling the foot back like a bow and arrow. And that really requires a tremendous amount of hip flexibility in order to get into that pose, and a bit of pull of the shoulder. And we'll be working on an arm balance as well. But the archer is going to be our preparation for what's to come in the next few classes, what we kind of are required to develop in our hips. And like I always say, when it comes to the breakthroughs and Anugraha, this revelatory path that we're on together here, that it's not quite a straight and narrow, do this, do that, and then, you'll be able to do all the postures. And that is really not the intent of the breakthrough. The breakthrough is not about postural attainment, but rather it's about the attainment of body awareness and developing a sense of curiosity. And that really is the biggest revelation, is that we can become more curious and listen to our physical body. And every one of us can do more of that. Even if you've been practicing asana daily or whatever it is that we do, we all can be more awake and more aware of our physical body. It's like potential. As soon as you reach a certain potential, then your potential has risen above where you're at, right? You can never meet your potential. It's always expanding. Same thing with body awareness. You can never be aware. You're only expanding your awareness. So once you become aware of a certain level of your body, a certain connection to your physical form, you then are aware enough to be more aware, to be more awake to the other aspects of your body. And it never ends, it never will end. And that's why we call it a yoga practice, okay? Practice means that there is this routine showing up for ourselves and for our development, okay? It's for our development, not for performance. And I can't stress that enough. And the revelatory moments, they happen when we devote ourselves to the process of the experience that we're having, and we fully show up for it rather than trying to show up for a result. Okay. The result is you've shown up. That is the result. Amazing. And then what happens is the clarity that opens up from showing up routinely, that is what creates. When you show up routinely for yourself and for your body or whatever it is that you're showing up for, when you routinely step into the challenges of the asana practice or your life, when you decide to be fully present there and cultivate that intention of becoming more and more aware, there's no way you won't have a revelation. But if you routinely show up because you're trying to achieve a certain posture, you will likely achieve that posture. But you won't necessarily get the revelation that comes with it, the big opening, the aha moment, the awakening to more than just a pose, but to our physical body and life itself. Okay, so when we're talking about this idea of anugraha, we're really talking about the big revelation, the opening, the moments that we're not just I understand the posture, but I understand myself. I understand this body. I understand that I've been living an experience in this human form that is so profound that I cannot ever comprehend it fully. That's the big revelations that happen when we get, and then as a result, postures then express themselves through our physical form. Okay, so let's get started today. Excuse me. If you have 2 blocks, grab them. And what I'd love to do is we start sitting up on one block. I'll just face you for this. And if you have blankets instead of a block, it's going to be way more comfortable. I don't have one handy, so I'm going to sit up on a block, but blanket's much nicer. And all we're going to do is we'll start opening up the inner thighs today, and we'll get into the hamstrings. But as you see, this archer position is it's inner thighs and hamstrings and buttocks that really require opening. So we'll start with this Baddha Konasana. Your knees might be up here, but you're going to take your arms, your elbows, and actively push outward and downward into your knees. But instead of just kind of letting that happen, you're going to resist that by pulling your knees upward into your elbows, so your inner thighs start to activate, these inner thighs. And also even like some of your hip flexors will activate if you start trying to tip your pelvis, like start trying to form a back bend, like you're trying to move your pubic bone downward and your belly forward. Okay, so pubic bone downward, belly forward, and then your knees press up into your elbows. Okay, so this is not about how far down your knees go to the ground, but rather, can you activate your inner thighs? Okay, there can be some massive revelation in just the sensations of activating your muscles. So I invite you to breathe here. I invite you to continuously stay attentive to, am I activating by pressing my knees up into my elbows? And you can challenge that by leaning forward more. It'll help you find more of that anterior tilt. The more you lean forward, slightly different musculature has to engage to keep pressing the knees up. And it's more or less the same, but maybe slightly different fibers, different areas of those muscles. And now I'd like you to add something on. Press your inner heels into one another, like you're trying to kick yourself, just your heels kick into each other, and that should ignite your adductors a little bit more. Still pressing the knees up. And now can you acknowledge which side, which adductors, which inner thighs are stronger and working harder? I can notice personally that my left side tends to fall asleep a little bit, so I'm going to focus my energy on the left side. I know my right side will kind of automatically do it. It's already doing it without me thinking. So I'm going to put my attention in the side that is a little less awake and try to bring awareness to it. The revelation happens when we focus on the things that we're challenged with, not the things that we're already good at. There's a time and place for performance and for celebrating and for just being like, wow, I can't believe how much I know. There's definitely a time and place for that. It's just not during the practice portion, okay? So we want to practice awakening to the things that challenge us, and rather, instead, we want to actually develop a mindset that celebrates that is, enjoying the intensity of getting to know ourselves and not feeling diminished by it, but by feeling empowered that we actually are willing to look at what we find challenging and to work on it. Okay, come on up. Oh, yes. Bring the legs together. That's a good way to start, eh? Okay, place your blanket aside or your block if you use that. Turn your legs inward, so knees underneath hips and feet wide. Just give your adductors a moment to recoup. Take a full breath in, look forward. Pull your belly towards your heart, stretch the abdomen. Exhale. Round, tuck your tailbone. Inhale, arch and look up. Exhale. Round. Find your fingers, dig into the ground and find your forearm muscles. Inhale, arch, look up. Exhale and round. Okay, inhale, arch. And just lean to your left to step your right foot outside of your right hand. And take both blocks, I suggest, to the inside. You can be on fingertips if you don't have two blocks, or you can be on one block is fine too. Your block's going to be on the inside of your knee. And now move your groins back. So stick your bum to the sky and find anterior tilt on purpose. So your low back is in an arch position, your chest is lifted. And with your right elbow, kind of nudge your right knee out to the right. Okay, and then with your right knee, squeeze gently into the elbow. I'm going to turn a little bit just so in case you're having any questions of where placements are. Okay, so groins go back and up into anterior tilt. Your foot is outside, slightly turned out, and your elbow is pushing outward while your knee squeezes back in. So you find your adductor muscles. Okay, shouldn't be too intense here on the blocks. But if it is, you can come up a little bit higher. Okay, we want to maintain an arch in the low back for right now so that we know that we're fairly deep in the pelvic region. Think about that archer pose. The knee would actually be all the way back, kind of behind our chest. So we're just working our way up there. Now what I'm doing also is I'm pulling my back knee, this knee, towards the front heel, and that's activating the adductors here, prepping me for the other side. Okay, let's switch. Just step the other foot outside the blocks. Okay, groins go back and up, finding that anterior tilt of the pelvis. And then your elbow kind of nudges outward into the knee, and then the knee squeezes back in, so you feel that inner thigh line activating, the adductor muscles activating here. This will also help you with things like squat pose, getting deeper into the hips. Now, if you feel some people feel a lot of compression right at the front hip. First of all, the knee should be turning out a little bit, and if it's still compressive, then you can actually go further away and turn your tailbone to the left, and that will give the thigh bone will be out further to the side, and the collision course in your hip won't be as possible because the bones will be a different alignment. In which case, you would press your forearm out like this and squeeze your knee in and still get the adductors to engage. And it really depends on bone structure there, and of course muscle tension, what your patterns are as to whether or not you'll find that collision course. Sometimes, no matter what you do, that collision course is there just because of the way the neck of the femur is, the thigh bone, and the pelvic socket and vestibular, how it's shaped. And other times it's there just because certain muscles are super tight and pulling the femur towards one side of the hip joint, causing it more readily or more easily to what's the word I'm looking for? To compress into itself. Okay, so the knee is squeezing into an elbow or your forearm, wherever you are, and you're just tiring out your adductors right off the bat. Okay, and then we'll release this. Put the blocks aside. You should feel now that your hips are a little bit more warmed up. Find your fingers, grip the ground. Inhale, arch. Exhale, downward facing dog. Take a few moments in your down dog. We approach every practice from curiosity, and curiosity is really one of the highest levels of practice according to Tantra. The lineage of Tantra is that we stay curious, and that curiosity is really coming from a place of humility, coming from a place of
recognition of the unknown, because the opposite of curiosity, that knowing, actually is coming from the ego. So it's keeping us here. It's keeping us in the fiction of our mind. And what we want to do is stay in the fullness of reality. And most of us are unwilling to do that because the unknown is a scary place. But curiosity is embracing of the unknown, embracing of the universe, embracing of consciousness itself. Come forward to plank pose and grip the ground with your fingers. Look forward a little bit with your heart, and then push the shoulder blades apart by moving the ground down or your body up away from the ground. Take a full breath in. Place the knees down. Sit back in child's pose. Now in child's pose, just a gentle acknowledgement of where your inner thighs are here. So squeeze your shins and knees in a little bit just to find those same inner thigh muscles. And they might start shaking. Okay, they're getting woken up here from our practice, and it might be rather abrupt for some of us. Okay, come forward to all fours, hands and knees. Arch the back. Exhale, downward facing dog. Take the right leg to the sky on the in-breath. Bend the knee, open up the hip as you exhale. Muscle shaking is actually, I think it's often thought of as a bad thing, but it's actually your muscles trying to fire up. They're trying to wake up. And so they tremble because it's like they're engaged, disengage, engage, disengage rapidly. And so they're trying to continuously engage. And it means that you're actually building strength. So it's a good thing. Straighten the leg on the inhale, look forward. Exhale, step forward. Come up on your fingertips and invite a breath in. So curiosity, may we stay open to all that we do not know. That is the invitation of the universe to pulse through us so that the mind becomes more awake rather than asleep in the knowing, right? The mind loves to know, and that causes all sorts of problems for us. Pull your feet toward each other. Slightly round the back. And as you pull your feet toward each other, think about your front heel digging down and even like slightly back on a diagonal, pressing down and back. And that should start to ignite your hamstrings and buttock line. We want to use that so that we can open ourselves up for the archer today. Let's take a full breath in. And as you exhale, downward facing dog. Forward to plank pose, inhale. Lower the knees, chaturanga all the way down. 3 times little cobras to warm up the back muscles. Exhale, release. 2 more. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. All fours, inhale. Exhale, down dog. Left leg to the sky on the in-breath. Bend the knee, open up the hip. Let's take a moment to enjoy this experience. Curiosity also means listening, right? When we're curious, we ask questions. It's inquiry. This is why it's one of the highest forms of practice within the Tantric Yoga tradition. This is inquiry leads to awareness. Not knowing, that's different. That's intellect. Awareness, observation. It's like a muscle that gets strong. Straighten the left leg, inhale. Step forward. Come up onto the fingertips. Take a breath. Press through your left heel by scooping the tailbone slightly and rounding your back. Now, pull your feet toward each other. Think about your front heel going back and down on like a 45-degree angle backward. Almost like you're about to run forward. Like you want to pull your body into a sprint. And what you should try to feel, or what I hope you feel from that action, is an activation of your buttock line through the hamstrings, warming up these muscles. Essentially, the archer that we're working with today is a deep squat on one side of the body. So let's see if we can work with that. Getting the muscles that need to be flexible awake so that we can have more access to that posture. Not, again, for the sake of attaining a posture, but for the sake of being aware of our physical form. Step back in a down dog. Inhale, full breath. And full breath out. Plank pose, inhale. Chaturanga as you exhale. Let's warm up the buttock muscles. Left leg up on the inhale. Your right knee pulls forward. Exhale, release. It's okay if your pelvis tips a little bit to the side. That's fine. Press your left knee down, pull it forward. Inhale, right leg up. Exhale, release. Right knee down, left leg up. Inhale. Exhale. Left knee down, right leg up. Release. Okay, anchor the pelvis down, lift the heart up. And then lift both legs up. Hold here, lift the hands up by pinning your shoulder blades together. Exhale and release. All fours or plank if you prefer. Exhale, downward facing dog. Full breath in. Full breath out. Walk the feet to the front of the yoga mat. And bow forward. All right, so let's awaken the posterior chain, the back chain of the body, starting with the calf muscles. So you'll take a block underneath your left ball mounds of your foot and let the left heel settle downward. Okay, so you'll have a deeper stretch in the calf muscles than probably normal. Okay, walk your hands forward and lean your body weight forward. Okay, pause and just observe the sensations that that produces for you. It ideally feels like maybe a deeper stretch in the calf muscle. Just to check in and see that's what you do feel. If not, you may have to lower the block. You may have to put the block on an angle or use a rolled up yoga mat of sorts, or just a book, something smaller. You want to feel the stretch in the calf muscles. Now, press you can lift both heels up for a moment and press the back of your hamstrings apart from each other, and then slowly lower the heels back down. But as you lower them back down, keep leaning forward. The tendency, because the calves are tight, is to lean back to put the heels down, which doesn't necessarily, it's actually still a good thing, but I'm trying to get to feel like you can lean forward to get into the hips as well. Okay, we want to get the femur head into the hip socket. Now, pressing the backs of the legs apart, lift the heart up, inhale. Keep lifting the heart up, maybe come up onto your tippy fingers. Full breath. And bow. Suction your quadriceps up into your hip sockets. Okay, and let's release the left side. Take a moment. Bow forward and just acknowledge the left and right side. Is there a shift? Is there a change? More curiosities, asking questions and listening. Okay, come up to stand, hands to the hips, rise. Tadasana. Okay, so we should, hopefully we feel uneven more or less, unless sometimes you might feel you might actually feel even because perhaps it's we've stretched the area that's more tight on one side. But for most of us, it'll feel uneven, maybe a little bit more grounded through the left leg.
or maybe more sensation through to the left foot. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, bow. Halfway lift, inhale, we're gonna do Chandra Namaskar. So left leg will be forward first. Step your right foot back, exhale. Place your right knee down onto the ground. Pause here, let the hip flexors warm up, or not the hip flexors lengthen, and then pull your two knees toward each other to warm up the hip flexor. Now inhale, rise up by pressing down through the front heel. Low back and low rib cage forward. Lift the heart up. One more breath, hips up a little bit. Exhale, hands to the ground. Straighten through both legs, inhale. Flex the front foot. Wag the tail straight back. Exhale and bow. Inhale, bend the knee. Step downward facing dog. Inhale forward to plank pose. Chaturanga. Inhale, lift the heart, lift the legs, lift the hands. Exhale, release. All fours or plank, inhale. Exhale, downward facing dog. Same side, left leg up to the sky. Step forward as you exhale. High lunge, rise up. Hold. Squeeze the back shin into the midline. Tailbone points straight back. Lift the belly up. 2 more breaths. Lift the gaze up, inhale. Exhale, hands to the ground. This time step forward, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale and bow. Take the block underneath your right ball mounds of your foot. Hands to the ground. With your fingertips to the ground out in front, lean forward, lift both heels up, and press the back of your hamstrings apart. So you should feel your outer band of buttocks, top band of buttocks activates, and maybe a deepening of the femur, the thigh bone in the hip socket. And then without leaning back, so you can let the heels descend. Okay, keeping that. Backs of the hamstrings apart. Now we simply breathe and observe before doing anything else. Curiosity. Okay, from that curiosity and that observation, that cultivation of awareness, we then take our next action. So press the backs of the hamstrings apart and lift the quads. Now, press your weight of your upper body down towards your hands, bowing into this. Now, if it ever becomes too intense, of course, you can lower. Instead of a block, you can take like a book, and you could also maybe not bow as far forward. There's many ways to diminish. You could also lift your heel up a little bit off the ground. That can help. But we don't want to, strain anything. Intense stretch is fine, but strain is definitely not, okay? That's, injuring yourself. So we never want to get to that point of injury. Of course, we want to feel a stretch, but we're not trying to injure ourselves. Okay, now slowly remove the block, and I'd like you to feel now your right side. Inhale, reach to the sun. Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, hands to heart, Samastitihi. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, bow, Uttanasana. Halfway lift, inhale. Left foot goes back. Back knee comes down. All right, take a moment for a breath. Curiosity, the observation of the sensations of our body. And we take action by pulling the back knee and heel toward each other. Press through the front heel, rise up. Okay, not sinking, not sagging, rising by pulling knees toward each other. Low back and heart forward. Reach the arms up. Inhale, lift the heart, take the hands back, look up. Exhale, release, hands to the ground. Straighten through both legs, inhale, look forward. Exhale, bow.
Inhale, bend the knee.
Step back, down dog.
Forward to plank, inhale.
Chaturanga. Inhale, lift the heart, lift the feet. Hold, exhale, soften. Pin your shoulder blades together. Inhale, lift the hands. Exhale, release. All fours. Exhale, downward facing dog.
Let's say same side, right leg up. Step forward. High lunge, rise.
Hold here, soften. Lift the heart up, take the hands back, look up. Back shin squeezes in. Tailbone straight back or straight down. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, release, hands to the earth.
Step forward, half lift. Ardha Uttanasana.
Exhale and bow.
To the sunrise, Urdhva Hastasana.
To the heart. Inhale, reach up. To the earth, Uttanasana.
Half lift, inhale.
Step or hop back, Chaturanga.
Cobra or upward dog, your choice.
Exhale, downward facing dog.
Right leg to the sky, inhale.
Step forward, exhale.
High lunge, inhale.
Down dog, exhale.
Plank, inhale.
Chaturanga.
Cobra or upward dog, inhale.
Exhale, downward facing dog.
Left side. Step. Rise, inhale.
Down dog, exhale.
Plank pose.
Chaturanga.
Cobra or upward dog.
Exhale, downward facing dog.
3 breaths, inhale. Exhale. Press the backs of your legs apart, inhale. Exhale. 2 more, inhale. Lift the heels up, look forward. Empty out, hopper step. Half lift, inhale. Exhale and bow. Inhale to the sun.
Exhale, hands to the heart. All right, bend the knees, chair pose, Utkatasana. Hands to the thighs, move the hips back. Press the back of your legs apart, warm up the outer hip muscles, lift the heart up. Inhale, reach the hands up, Utkatasana. We'll do a total of 5 breaths in the full position. Okay, inhale together. Exhale. 1, curiosity is a gift. that opens up to self-inquiry, asking ourselves the question to reflect. Self-inquiry leads to self-awareness. Self-awareness is one of the most amazing gifts we have as humans. To reflect upon, to become aware of. Bow forward as we exhale. Inhale, halfway lift. Step or hop, Chaturanga. Cobra or upward dog. Exhale, down dog. Right leg to the sky, inhale. Step. High lunge, inhale. Open warrior two. Hold here. Now for today, especially move your groins back, move your hips back, and then pull your feet toward each other since we're working towards the like a squat position in our legs and deep opening in the pelvis. So let's hang out here for a moment. And let's warm up the quadriceps since the quads definitely need to be flexible in order to get into that deep knee flexion. So inhale, straighten through the front leg. Exhale, bend. Stretch. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. One more. Reverse warrior. Inhale. Warrior two as you exhale. Two more, slow moving. Exhale, hands to the ground. This time, pivot the back heel up. Inhale, straighten through the front leg. Exhale and bow. Inhale, bend the front knee. Sorry, look forward. Exhale, straighten and bow. One more time. Inhale. Bend the knee. Exhale, down dog. Forward to plank. Inhale. Chaturanga. Cobra or upward dog, your choice. Exhale, down dog. Left leg to the sky. Step. High lunge, rise up. Open up warrior two. Hips back, groins back, pause. Get settled for a moment. Find your inner thighs by pulling the feet toward each other. And let's move. Inhale, straighten the front leg, slow. Slow bend. Inhale. Curiosity. What are you feeling? What sensations are you experiencing? Reverse warrior. Inhale. Warrior two. Slow movements. Inhale. One more. Hands to the ground. Back heel lifts. And step to plank. Inhale. Oh, sorry, don't do that. Left foot forward, my fault. Straighten the front leg. I knew something was off. Exhale and bow. Inhale, bend the front knee, look forward. Exhale, straighten and bow.
Inhale, bend.
Straighten and bow.
Inhale, bend.
Down dog as you exhale.
Inhale, forward plank.
Chaturanga. All the way down. Let's do a full cobra pose.
Take your fingertips out to the sides. Feet a little wide. Inhale, round the back slightly, just a little bit.
Soften the heart in front of the shoulders, shoulders back, melting. Pull the chest forward and up. And release. All fours, hands and knees. Tuck the toes, exhale, downward facing dog.
3 breaths. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Lift the heels up. Inhale, look forward. Hop, step lightly to the front of the mat. Halfway lift. Inhale. Exhale. Chair pose, Utkatasana.
And stand up, hands to heart. Okay, let me just adjust this camera a little bit here. Sorry, I think I brought it up a little too close. And let's take, make sure this is right. Yeah, okay, take your right knee up towards your chest. Interlace the hands behind, underneath the hamstring. And move your hips back. Sit into chair on the left side. Left knee bends. Chair pose on the left side. Groins and butt go back. Flex the feet. Now with your shoulders, pull up and back. So retract your scapula so your heart is in front of your shoulders. Keeping your shoulders back and slightly lifted, you're gonna press your leg down into your hands and your arms go nowhere because the rhomboids and trapezius back there are working hard to keep the shoulders up and back. Now kick the leg forward. Hold. Chair pose means your hips are back. Okay. Let's enjoy 3 more breaths. And bend straight leg and come up to stand. All right. Take a breath, observe the sensations. Second side. Bring your left knee up towards your chest. Interlace hands underneath the hamstring. Strings, flex the foot, bend the knee, and move your hips back. Okay, with your hips back, you should be able to ground into your right heel, your standing heel. Now let's work the shoulders up and back. Shoulder blades retract, they move toward each other. Using your trapezius and your rhomboids to keep your shoulders back. Then press your leg down into the shelf you've created into your hands and kick the heel forward. Don't worry about how high up the leg is. We want to work the quadriceps in the front to straighten the leg. And we want to also be in a deep hip flexion, which is what your hands are helping you do to create that hip flexion. So if you move your hips forward like this, the leg will go higher, but the hip flexion won't change of the left leg. So we move our hips back. The leg might be lower visually, but the hip joint, the left hip joint, doesn't know the difference. And we want to keep it that way, where the hip is as it is, fighting a little bit against gravity in hip flexion with the hips back and using the quads. There's going to be a muscle called the rectus femoris that's working hard here. Okay, and come on up. All right. Okay, so similar. Well, actually, let's prepare one thing. Take your feet out to the sides. Turn your left toes to face the back of your yoga mat. Bend the knee, warrior 2. And then take your forearm to the thigh, side angle preparation. Move your groins back and pull your feet toward each other so you feel the adductors tone. Now slide your left fingertips down to the inside of the foot. Lengthen the chest. Pull the heart back, pull your right shoulder blade into retraction. So move your right shoulder head back, moving your right shoulder blade towards your spine. Keeping that, you can take your arm up. Hand stays directly above your chest, but shoulder pulls back. Is it possible to move your shoulder back instead of your hand back? Those are two different things. Keep the shoulder back, the hand stays right up over the chest. If that's not possible yet, and it may not be, it's taken years for me to figure that out, you take your hand on your hip, and if you isolate hand on hip, then you can move the shoulder more easily, keeping the shoulder blade back while the hand is forward. Or it feels forward, I should say. All right, hand to the hip, rise up, switch sides. Bend the knee. Side angle preparation. Again, get that curiosity. It helps to do some shoulder rolls just to kind of feel like the difference between shoulder forward and shoulder back, okay? Shoulder up is going to help you with range of motion, so go up and then back. And that back, well, if you feel into your shoulder blade, you might feel that it moves towards your spine. That's called retraction. So keep it there. Slide the right fingertips down. Now, if you can keep the shoulder back, bring the hand up. Hand to the hip and rise up. Back to the first side again, left, whichever side that is for you. It's my left. You might be mirroring, I'm not sure. Okay, we bend the knee. Now this time, you take your hand down and you're gonna press your left tricep, push the knee out so that your shoulder head here, the bottom shoulder blade, retracts. Okay, so move your shoulder blade back. And then turn your heart without your shoulder going forward. So shoulder back, you can feel it with your hand. Keep it back. Now as you pull it back, the bottom knee, squeeze into your arm. So push the knee into your tricep. That will challenge the shoulder. You got to really resist that by pushing your shoulder back against the knee, squeezing in, and then turn your chest. When you turn your chest, your bottom shoulder is going to want to go forward too. Keep moving it back. Okay, when you press your knee into your arm, your shoulder wants to punch forward. Keep pushing it back. Okay, and then rise up. Switch sides again. Okay, take the fingertips down to the ground. Now move your shoulder back. Yes, your chest will probably drop a little bit at first, and that's fine. Now, as your shoulder goes back, squeeze your knee into your arm. So your adductor line activates. Keep the shoulder back and turn the chest away from the shoulder. This is very challenging to press the knee into the arm, the arm back out into the knee, and to turn the chest without the shoulder, the bottom shoulder that is, stays retracted. These are very challenging actions. Essentially, the shoulder has one job to do, but it's fighting two things. It's fighting the leg that's squeezing into the arm, and it's fighting your torso that's trying to pull it with it. All right, come on up. Bring the feet together. Okay, Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana B now. What you try to do is you grab the big toe or your outer edge of the foot is my preference. So I will mirror you. So let's go, you bring your right leg up. Again, you either grab toe lock like so, or my preference, if you can get it, you might have to use two hands to grab the outer edge of the foot. Now, the shoulder that grabs the foot, this is the one that does the work. So it goes up and then back, and that will deepen the hip flexion, and this will make more or less a very deep hip opening posture here. Now I suggest staying here for many of us. If you want to move forward into a deeper posture, you'll turn this leg in a little bit and then kick on a diagonal forward. Okay, Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana B. Another hand goes out. Now this shoulder will always want to pull out of the socket. Move it back, okay? And that will require a little bit deeper of a hamstring stretch, a little bit deeper of a buttock and adductor stretch. Don't go too far out to the side this way. Keep the hips pointing straight forward. Leg off on a 45-degree angle forward. Okay, bend the knee and release. Also, what I like about grabbing the outer edge of the foot there is all the flexors of the wrist really ignite, okay? And it's very rare that we get an opportunity to activate these wrist flexors. So it's a good opportunity in this posture here to really work the wrist flexors, especially in conjunction with that retraction. That's a whole pulling line, which we don't get very much of in yoga. So it's great that we have that opportunity here. So again, so you can come down and grab the outer edge of the foot if possible. Of course, if you can't grab the foot, you can always hold the knee like this and work that same pull using the bicep and move the shoulder blade back. So you can still be in this posture, developing body awareness and curiosity for the experience that you're having without holding onto the foot. Okay, there's always a way to develop. It's not about the pose, it's about the awareness that you're learning. Okay, so shoulder goes up and pulls back. Holding that, either stay in this position or the hand on the knee. Keeping the shoulder up and back, kick diagonally forward, potentially, as the last portion of this pose. Your fingers really dig into your foot, creating that flex, activating the flexors of the wrist. Hand out to the side. All right. Very well so far, doing so good. All right. Let's take the goddess posture. Legs out to the side, hands to the inner knees now. This time your shoulders are going to go back by moving your chest forward, okay? So your chest melts now, and your hands push the knees out. Squeeze the knees back into the hands so you feel your adductors activating. And this might kind of feel like you're suspended in space when you squeeze the knees back into the hands push out. There's kind of a feeling like you're floating. Or maybe not, depending. And come on up. Okay, so next we have we'll take a yoga squat, malasana posture with feet about a little wider than hip joint apart. Now, here's the thing. We want to keep the femur bones slightly out on a 45-degree angle and slightly wide. That'll give us the most clearance, or within this shape at least, for our hips to stay out. Now, when we bend our knees, the tendency is the adductors tense up, okay, and it keeps the thigh bones more or less going inward, makes it very hard. So what we do is we press the outer edges of the feet down to roll the knees out as you come down into your squat. Now, unlike, this kind of popular position, I'm going to invite you to come up so that your hamstrings and calves are not touching. Okay, then lifting your heart up. Arms out to the sides. Some of you might say, well, my heels aren't on the ground. You're like this. That's okay. No worries. That's also great. Just keep your hips up, not on your hamstrings. Knees out to the sides. Hold. Maybe work a little bit on the retraction of the scapula here. Going back and forth. This is protraction, shoulder blades apart. Retraction. Protraction. Retraction. Protraction. Dying. All right, hands to the ground, bow forward. Uttanasana, forward fold. Come down to a seated position and take your left foot just outside the hip joint here, turning the toes more or less forward is fine. Just maybe slightly out is okay too. But what you're going to try to do is work your torso to the right and come inside of your left knee. And at this point, you can almost try to bow your weight towards the diagonal and see if you can get your hands wide. Okay, so both hands wide. My right hand is doing a little bit more work to keep my body weight in tight towards this leg. Okay, so you might feel something like this. That's okay. You're just trying to tip your body forward. And to get forward, you do have to press your knee out to the side, and then you lean more towards the leg once you're through. Okay. Now, is it possible within this position to try to pull your knee back behind you? Press the knee back behind you. Then you might have access to bring both hands to the inside. And you can even lift this foot up and turn the toes out potentially if you're in that position. I'm digging this heel on a diagonal down into the ground. Okay, and come on up. Let's switch sides. Maybe I'll just keep this same shape. So your right foot a little bit outside. Your pelvis is not like level on the ground or anything. Don't worry about that. So the first step is you kind of bow towards the straight leg, okay? And that helps you clear the right hip. Now move your right knee back a little bit and use your left hand to press your body weight back towards the leg. And first, you have both hands wide, okay? Now, you may need a block or blankets underneath your buttocks for this posture to work out in any shape or form. In any seated posture, it's always good to have blankets under your hips for most of us to really get more access. Okay, and then from this position here, see if you can start to work your right knee back behind you a little bit. That's going to be your abductors, your outer hip muscles. And that might require, depending on your body, it might require that you turn your toes out a little bit more. Eventually, with that, you might, I'm not there yet, you might start to have access to lifting this hand, the supporting hand up and then bowing to the inside of both legs. And that may be today, it might be next year or 2 years from now, you know, that's totally normal. The idea here again is to get curious about what is available to you, not so much, you know, can I do the shape? And I can't really say that enough because it's so hard to explain, but the mind gets so wrapped up on shapes or external objects that when it does that, it actually misses the opportunity to even attain the shape. That's the thing, is like it shoots us in the foot because it doesn't work either way. Okay, come on up. All right. Let's go into the posture that we were working on today, which is, I don't ever remember the Sanskrit for this, something Dhanurasana, but it's R something, whatever. It means the archer pose. So you grab, traditionally it would be yoga toe lock, but I'd like you to grab outer edge of the foot. And we're going to work the same pulling muscles. So you can do it right here with the heel still on the ground. You can pull your shoulder blade back to bring your chest forward, okay? Then you do that with the foot up off of the ground like so, and you pull a few times. Just pull you can bend the elbow for this, pull the shoulder and arm back as if you're about to take a telephone call and you're gonna be like, hello, right? So you pull back, and just see what's available here. Now, if you pull back enough, you might turn the pelvis a little bit open, and maybe you can grab yoga toe lock or outer edge of the foot of the other leg. I find it very hard to grab the outer edge of the foot. Toe lock is a little bit easier for me, but if you can grab it, go for it. And now it's this shoulder really pulling back, retracting in order to create it. Now you might feel a lot of muscles like biceps in this arm that really work hard to hold the foot there. And it's very intense on the pulling muscles. I love that about this. And we just breathe. And we stay. Curious about what's happening. Okay, and release. Whoo, biceps. It's a lot of effort, of course, because the hips are definitely stronger than the arm. Okay, so let's go to the other side. I'm going to move this down so now we're not going back up. Okay, let's go second side. So we grab, first, let's do it with the heel on the ground, and then just pull your chest forward and see if you can get your shoulder blade to retract to get deeper into the hip, okay? And it's those muscles, those pulling muscles, that's gonna get this leg backing up. So here we go. Pull. I like to kind of pump the hip socket a few times, like not trying to get there and hold right away, but just kind of letting the body know where we're going. And you want to open the pelvis too a little bit, by the way. So turn the pelvis more like opened instead of closed this way. Open it up. Okay. And then as you're pulling back, try to retract the shoulder blade. Maybe you can grab yoga toe lock, maybe not. And then try to bring the foot more or less around face height. Okay. Very awkward posture, but very effective in getting into the hips. And really awesome for the pull muscles. I find that I'm trying to retract the bottom shoulder blade as well. It's getting me a little bit deeper into the posture. All right, and release. All right, coming back to a posture that we did the other day. Lizard with a block. So you place your left foot slightly on a diagonal out to the side, right knee down, and wag your tail a little to the left. That'll help you get down, maybe to the ground, potentially on forearms or hands on the ground, okay? And if you get to the forearms, if that's available for you today, you take your right arm underneath and grab the ankle and potentially try to look towards your foot, like towards your ankle bone, maybe third eye to ankle bone, which this is very advanced. So more likely you're here. And what you can start to work on is bending your right elbow towards the block or the ground and looking towards your calf muscle. Okay, that's essentially what's the same kind of idea here. Okay, and you could also maybe work your hand, your left hand, towards the outer ankle and holding on to that one way or another, waking your way down into this modified lizard pose. And this eventually would lead to leg over the head. We're by no means warmed up for that today. I'm definitely not. Maybe you are. A little more hip opening required for that. Okay, coming on up, we'll try the other side. Buttocks up, groins back, coming on down. And of course, your variation might be something like this, bending the elbow and kind of giving it the feeling of what it will be like is to bend the left elbow and look towards your foot. And what that does is it just changes the angle of your pelvis, really, and where and what muscles are stretching. And that's the idea. It's like we think that this is different than this because it looks different than, on the outside. And so our ego identifies as this being better, but many people that are here are feeling the same intensity, if not sometimes more, as somebody that is down here. And so that's what I would love for you to kind of have that revelation with, is that it's not about getting here as it is about having the experience of opening
from where you are now. That's what's important. And, you all know this intellectually. It's just a question of if we can actually let it settle in beyond the intellect. Well, not even that. If we can be aware enough to go beyond our intellect, see the ego for what it is and what it does, and recognize that it is still an infant in the stages of evolution of life. It's far younger than awareness. It's even just in the humans, our ego is based on our childhood. It's formed then, and it just gets continuously strengthened over time. But for sure, it starts when we're young. Okay, come on up. All right, so now we got one last posture as a counterpose, and that is something this is why I thought 2 blocks would be good. It's something that we've already done, but flexibility, actually we haven't already done it, sorry, we've gone to something similar. But flexibility-wise, it's similar to Titi-Basana. We did that fun version of Titi-Basana. Now this is a little bit different. So you're gonna set 1 block up behind your heel, just watch first, okay? And then 1 block even to that with the foot behind. The foot that's behind is going to do a Malasana squat. You hold the blocks like this, okay? Like if you can't get your thumb, most people can't. You just have the thumb like this, and that's okay. You just have the hand caddy corner, okay? So the blocks more or less are even, but our feet are not, okay? Now this leg, you really have to come up on your tippy toes. Some of you might even be able to put your foot on the block like this and bring the knee outside the arm. But then you have to pull the heel up. So you're in a crow pose, knee on the outside, and you sit on down. And then simply put, you pull this heel in tight. So you're in a half crow, what's that posture called? Bhujapidasana, half Bakasana, half Bhujapidasana. Bhujapidasana is here, whereas crow here, okay? Now, of course, switching is fun, but it is very challenging. So don't give yourself too much to worry about. But you have 1 foot in front, okay, and you get down here. You have the other foot on top of the block if possible, and you try to get low as possible and get the shin of the crow side on your arm, and then bring everything in. And this is where I suggest you hold. Maybe you pull both feet into the ground. You potentially could even cross like Bhujapidasana here, but one leg is behind the arm, 1 leg is in front. Something like this. Okay. Let's try the other side when you're ready. Really, the pose itself is not as hard as the setup. I'm going to notice that I'm feeling some pressure on the outside of my wrist. So that means the elbows are probably splaying out. So I widen my hands a little bit, widen the blocks. Okay, so 1 foot in front, that's the Bhujapidasana leg. 1 leg behind, that's the crow leg. And then you sit kind of down and squeeze I like the shin really to go deep here as possible. I like it on the arm here for crow. So you see the knee is outside, the shin is on the arm. And then you hold here if possible, pushing into the ground, and then maybe squeezing with your hamstrings this other leg up. Again, you can just be in Bhujapidasana crow, or you can crisscross your ankles, okay? And then if you want to switch, you internally rotate the leg and bring it around. Now you're in crow. Fun stuff. Okay, I don't expect many of you to be able to do that, but it's good to see visually for where you can go when you're when the hip flexibility is there. You can kind of move your legs forward and back. Now, the important thing is that your legs stay squeezing into the arms. Otherwise, you'll just slip and fall on your butt every single time, guaranteed. If you don't, so
what I'm doing is hugging the inner thighs into the arms, regardless, even here, squeezing inward, inward, inward. Otherwise, I'll fall right downward. Doesn't matter how strong my upper body is, the legs are not pinned onto the arms. So I get the legs squeezing into the arms as much as I can. Hamstrings, the adductors, everything squeezing in. And when I switch, the mistake is people think out with their legs and then they fall down, okay? Or they fall on their butt. But I think about squeezing in with the legs as I switch, squeezing in with the legs, okay? That's super intense and super requires tremendous strength, body awareness, and practice. Okay, so don't focus so much on the end result there as much as squeezing in, squeezing in, squeezing in, and whatever comes of that squeezing in is where that's what you want to focus on. What develops because of your strength of drawing inward, drawing inward, drawing inward. Now, if the hip flexibility is not there, like in squat pose for that posture, it's a deep squat the whole time. So if it's not there, then that's where we work. We work on the adductors, the buttocks, the hamstrings, developing that over time. Okay, so let's put the blocks aside. That's sort of, the counter pose to the archer that we worked on, which is quite an intense counter pose. Come on to the ground. I'm going to suggest a counter pose to the counter pose and just come up to a gentle bridge pose. Nothing too intense for the spine. Don't go too deep. Now we breathe and get back to that curiosity of the experience that we're having in our physical body. Curiosity of the energy that pulses through this physical form. And release on down. Any last postures you'd like to do? It might be nice because you did all those squat poses to actually end in a constructive rest where your thighs turn in instead of out. But also it might be nice to just stretch out the Shavasana. So whichever works for you. Any closing postures that you need before Shavasana is welcomed?
back to your breath. Awaken the fingers and toes with each breath. Roll to your right side. Come up to a seated position. We take a moment to bow in with gratitude for this body and the curiosity that we have within us to explore it. Thank you all so much for your effort. Namaste. All right. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to share with you so far in this immersion, and I can't wait to continue opening up our hips each day and accessing different arm balances. I will give you more techniques regarding some other arm balances as we go along. Today's arm balance is a little bit of, maybe we'll reiterate it again so I can give you a full class on the techniques of it. That's what we'll do next time on Saturday, as I'll really focus in on it and show you how we can evolve it too. And the spinal reset, which is coming up in starts November 1st, which is a Sunday. We're going to have a practice on a Sunday at our normal time because November has a little bit of a couple of different days in there because of Thanksgiving that lands here in America. We won't have a Thursday practice. So we'll start it on that Sunday and make sure that we get the right amount of days in for the month of November. But the spinal reset is going to be quite cool. Every week you're going to get back bends, side bends, twists, and forward folds. At least each practice will focus on one or two of those so that each week we're working through the musculature that surrounds the core and the spine and the rib cage in order to develop a more deeper awareness of how to move in these different directions of the spinal column, in hopes that we can free up some old stuck patterns that tends to be surrounding all the different vertebrae and the muscles and of the trunk. So it's an exciting adventure that I'm personally very stoked to go upon, and I hope to have you with us. So and of course, if you got the emails, you certainly got the link to sign up. So I hope to have you for that, and see you Saturday, which is my birthday class. My birthday is on Sunday, so Saturday is my birthday class. I think I just cut up right at the end, but anyway, hope to see you all Saturday.